Welcome to WVTC TV Network, capturing family moments in real time, bringing families closer together from the comforts of home. We are unleashing something different to the world. Start your subscription today for the low price of $4.99 per month or $55 annually. Go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com to sign up today. WVTC TV Network is streaming live on 8 different platforms. You can easily download the WVTC TV Network app on the Apple Store, Play Store, Roku, Fire TV, and more. Here at WVTC TV, we have access to movies that everyone can enjoy, including independent films, Sons of a Preacher and a Good Thing, Treasures of Life, the epic drama, The Passion of the Christ, and the box office hit Madagascar Escape to Africa. Remember, go to www.wvtctvnetwork.com and sign up today.
Seems to weigh you down, don't worry. Call on Jesus, he'll step right in on time. I know you will. Oh, when your money is funny and your change is strange, don't worry. I'm here to tell you to hold on. You're gonna make it. Hold on. You're gonna make it. Oh, you're gonna make it. Yeah. Let me say it again. When the trials of life seem to weigh you down, don't worry. Though troubles may come, call on Jesus. He'll step right in on time. I know you will. You got to remember this one thing. We've been made to just for one night. I know you're gonna make it. I'm trying to tell you to hold on. You're gonna make it. Hold on. You're gonna make it. Get a real good grip. You're gonna make it. Hold on real tight. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. You ought to tell yourself you're gonna make it through all of your trials and tribulations, even being persecuted. You're gonna make it. You got to know you're gonna make it. Let me encourage you and tell you, hold on, you're gonna make it. Hold on, you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. With Jesus on your side, there's nothing stopping you from making it through. As long as you know you got the master, he'll never leave you, nor will he forsake you. He'll be with you even till the end of the world. You're gonna make it. No, you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it. Dry your eyes. Go to sleep tonight, knowing you're gonna make it. Even through the ups and even through the downs, you don't have to worry. Yeah, hold on. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it through. Yeah. Oh Lord, make it. have some church. I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's go. Ain't no harm done calling on Jesus. Ain't no harm done calling on Jesus. Ain't no harm done calling on Jesus. He's my doctor, my lawyer, my teacher, my friend. He's everything that I need. Let me say it one more time. Yes, sir. Hey, ain't no harm done calling. Yes, sir. Ain't no harm done calling on. I tell you, ain't no harm done calling on. Hey, he's my doctor. Jesus is my lawyer. Jesus is my friend. He's everything, everything that I need.
Hey, y'all. Good God morning. You have tuned into Solutions Radio Show. I am one of your hosts, Corey Wright. My co-host, she's on her way. Got caught by traffic, a little traffic. So she will be here shortly. I want to thank you and welcome you guys to the Solutions Radio Show. As always, we know what the problems are. We know we need to solve them. What I offer on this platform is solutions, dedicated action for action that bring about true change. And I just talked about change, and no excuses for excuses are mentors of incompetence that build bridges in nowhere and monuments of nothing. Broadcasting live from the WVTC radio and TV network here in Illinois. I want to thank you guys for coming. Today's show is going to be powerful, and I'm really prepared for this show. And I want to thank everybody that supported me and is supporting the Solutions Radio Show. It is such a great honor to have you guys and you supporting. And I give me a minute to say that because I'm thankful to be on this radio network and on the station. I'm thankful for everyone that has been following the Solutions Radio Show for years. It's such a great honor. And we're going to talk about that today, unconditional love. But I just want to thank the WBTC VTC family. I want to thank Reverend, I call him Dr. Morris, and everyone here. It is such a great honor to be here. Again, my co-host, she will be here. And today we're talking about unconditional love. We're talking about unconditional love. What unconditional love means. Is it such thing as unconditional love? Can we be unconditionally in love with someone? We're going to talk about that in depth, and we're really going to get into that. I'm very excited. So I don't want to go too far ahead of my co-host, but I've had a really great week this week. My week has been full of lessons to see if I've learned. I've ran into people. I've reconnected with people. I've ran into people who've done me wrong. And when I seen them, I showed them nothing but love. And they were surprised. But I thank God for the spiritual maturity to be able to do that. And it has really been a great week for me. And I definitely can't complain. But when I think about unconditional love, I think about what it is to really love somebody, what it is to be in love. What it really means to have sincere love in your life. There are so many various aspects of different types of love that we're going to talk about when we get into that, what unconditional love is. And we're going to talk about it biblically. We're going to talk about it when it comes to emotions, when it comes to loving somebody. We're going to also talk about when it comes to misery, because there are people who could be in love but be miserable. And they're miserable because they're still in love with somebody who makes them miserable. So we're going to talk about various aspects of that. We're going to talk about the variations of love. We're going to talk about the categories that love fall in, on how you can love somebody and how you can be loved. And so we're going to talk about a lot of those things. We're going to talk about how to find unconditional love. We're going to talk about all those things, and we're gonna do that. I see my beautiful co-hostess come in, but we're going to talk about that. It was really rough out there. You hear music in the beginning is because traffic was like crazy. Like everybody has forgotten how to drive today. They was all rushing to get home to be in a Solutions Radio show. That's what they were doing.
What's crazy though is there's a train right at 147th that's stuck, and every single street had a cop blocking it. So I don't know if it was some type of spill.
Oh yeah, because I seen that. I seen that coming in. There she go. We saw Salt Pepper is back on the radio.
Oh my God!
It is on.
I'm so sorry that I'm tardy to the
Man,
call.
I was telling them I was a little late myself because of the fact that traffic was bad. But how was your week, Gigi?
You know what? My week was awesome. A lot going on. Thank you so much for the beverage. I can't wait to taste it. Anyway, you know what? I accomplished a lot at work.
Okay.
You know, which is great. You know, I think I shared with the audience that I have a new position, so it's going well. And then, you know, just so many great things. God is awesome.
Catch your breath now. You breathing hard now. Y'all see this shirt, y'all?
Questions when I can't breathe.
You see this shirt? It says, "This man prayed."
Yes, you do.
Well, let's get into it. Unconditional love. Let's get into it. Let's first start off biblically. Okay. Let's really get deep into something. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whomsoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." Right? But I want you guys to think about this. God never said why he loved the world so much. He just said he loved the world, that he so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. When you think about that, could he have given a reason why he loved us? Would it have been the same as just saying he loved us? Because when it comes to love, he has never asked us to love. He gave us all commands and decrees. Love your enemy, love your neighbor, but he never said why. So when we think about unconditional love, does unconditional love have to come with conditions? Or even if he gave us conditions, could we meet them? Because we couldn't. Because Jesus had to come to save us and put us back in life. So when you think about that, God never said why. What do you think about that in unconditional love?
Well, first of all, he's our father. So when you think about that, you never ask yourself why you love your children. You just love your children.
Okay.
They didn't do anything to be here. They didn't ask to be here, but we will walk over hot coals for our children.
That is true.
We would do anything. We'll sacrifice anything. We'll do anything for our children. So he's our father. So there should be a reason. It is what it is.
Do you feel that you could be in a love relationship with love somebody or they love you unconditionally?
Absolutely.
You sure?
Sure.
Is it possible? And that's the question I want to ask everybody that's watching the Solutions Radio show. Is it possible for us to actually love somebody unconditional? Now, let's break down what unconditional means. Unconditional love is a type of love that is given without conditions or expectations.
Exactly.
And it is based on a desire for someone's happiness. It is also known as the compassionate or agape love, which we're going to get into. Now, so when you look at the definition of that, you got to ask yourself, so where do conditions come from? Where you cannot love unconditionally?
Conditions come from reasons. If you have a reason you love somebody, say your husband makes $500,000 a year, and then he loses his job. If that was the reason why you were with him,
That's still condition.
the condition is
We're talking about
I'm going to
condition.
leave you. Right. So that's what I'm saying. You asked, why is there condition?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why it is. There's conditions there. I put it like this: if you put a reason why you love someone, a condition follows. If a condition follows, an expectation follows. If an expectation follows, you set yourself up for disappointment. And when disappointments come, division comes. What happens when there's division? Division prompts a death of the relationship, right? So then when you have a death of the relationship, then there comes dysfunction in your family. With dysfunction, there comes what? Social decay.
Okay.
Yeah, social decay. Then you have community disaster. It's like you can't, when you put unreal expectations on somebody or reasons, there's always a condition, and it's just a domino effect. When you love someone, you have to just love them, period. Or you don't love them.
Well, here's the thing. Unconditional conditions come from our experiences that we have learned unconditionally to what? Okay, let me make sure, because I was reading it. Now, conditions come from our experiences, and we have not learned to unconditional our conditional to be unconditionally. Let me say that again.
Please say it again. I'm trying to follow.
Conditions come from our experiences that we have not learned to unconditional our conditions to be unconditionally. Now, I'm going to break that down, because when I was reading this and studying this, it's because there is no condition that comes without experience preceding it. You have no condition that you have ever set in your relationship, in your life, no boundaries or anything that has been set in your life that didn't come after an experience. That conditional love comes from experiences with those that did not meet expectations that we set. But a lot of times when we set those expectations or those boundaries, they are not on what's in front of us. They are from what's behind us. And we're looking conditional. That when we come in this earth, with unconditional love, and every condition that we learn to love under, through, or with came from an experience, good or bad, that we have had. So when people say they have a reason, no, their condition comes from an experience. It could be a bad experience with that person, could be a good experience, it could be an experience with somebody else. But it's always an experience. What do you think about that?
I definitely agree. I mean, because it's like when you're little, you're formed by your environment and what you experience, period. Just like racism is not something that children are born with. That's something that is taught.
Correct.
So love is also taught. And when someone gives their heart away, or and gets hurt by that, they now say, all right, well, I'm not going to do that again. Just like when a child goes to touch the stove, you pop their hand. I'm not going to touch the stove anymore. So that person is what? Conditioned, if you will, to do something different. So in experiences of the heart or experiences of emotion, when someone is hurt emotionally, they now condition themselves, or quote unquote program themselves, not to go down that path again, or not say these words, or start to become silent, or they condition themselves to operate differently in love situations.
And when we think about conditions after experiences, it causes us to get programmed into self-destruction and destruction of a relationship. And the reason why that is so is because everyone is conditioned to fight everyone, but nobody is conditioned to change. One of the greatest parts, I was reading this in a study, and when I was studying for this morning, is that When people lose unconditional love and they put conditions with everything they need because of experiences, that means that nothing is going to change. That means that somebody's approach is embedded in their approach to where I am going to see it this way no matter what. That what is in front of me is not worth changing. So I'm not going to change me to change it. I'm going to continue to fight it the way it is. Because one of the devil's greatest things that he destroys relationships with is conditions. Because when I marry somebody in the balance for good or worse, for better or for worse, sickness and health to death do us part, I'm saying that just as God calculated our wrongs that we would do, that it will happen. But one of the things that I've learned in studying this conditional is the root of my conditions. Because a lot of conditional situations come from conditional people who put me in conditional situations, not love. So when I look at conditional, I have to unconditional my conditions so I can be unconditionally. How do I do that? By taking responsibility for my part in something, or to change me before I get involved with somebody or change the parts of me. Because anybody can see you're wrong, but what people do is to put you under a condition that they don't put themselves under. And as long as we continue to see the faults in everyone else in that condition, we will never see our condition or what we add to that condition. What you think?
Well, I really believe that it's about living without expectation. And then that's very, very difficult to do. That's actually a skill set to me.
Okay.
Living without expectation. Like, you know, if I say I expect my husband to take out the garbage every Thursday, you know, and when he doesn't, I get upset. Something like that. It's like, you know, if he does it, great. If he doesn't do it, great. You have to live without expectation, because you'll set yourself up for disappointment all the time, and living in a perpetual state of disappointment, then the relationship is no longer becomes worth it to you, and then love subsides. However, if it's true love, whether he takes the garbage out or not, you still love that person. You see what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. When we talk about unconditional love, do we love somebody enough to get them to change with different methods? Do we feel that our brass words and comments when we think about unconditional love is going to move someone? Like when we think about the various aspects of unconditional love and the various aspects of change. Because this, like I was telling my co-host before we started, I have never been so prepared for a show like I am today.
Okay.
Like this is really, really, really impacted me studying this show, because there are pitfalls that we fall into because we love in conditions, but we stay in conditions. Like I can go this way, but I'm going to keep going this way because this is the way I want to make my point in. So I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to keep fighting, and the person will keep fighting to the point that we are conditioned to fight. Whereas somebody say, well, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get help for myself. Now, if I'm going to get help for myself, that person is either going to say, okay, I'm going to go with you, or I'm going to get help myself, because in their mind it's a competition. But I'm going to go get help, but it changes the outcome because we've done something different. When we think about the characteristics of unconditional love, when we think about the no strings attached, unconditional love is given freely without expecting anything in return.
That's right.
One of the greatest downfalls in our relationship in society is that everybody wants something for somebody for doing something. They want to be loved. They want some type of appreciation and acknowledgement. Instead of getting all the acknowledgement from what I do to the least of them, I also do unto God, that whether I am acknowledged or not, God will glorify me. Another one is love for who they are. Unconditional love is based on loving someone for who they are and not what they do or who we want them to be.
Exactly. Let's stick in that for a second.
Okay.
Because that's the whole thing. Especially when somebody is trying to, well, starting out in a relationship, a lot of mistakes that are made in the beginning of the relationship is people fall in love with potential or what they could be, as opposed to looking at that person and accepting them for who they are standing in front of them right now and loving that person and embracing that person. I believe when two people love each other, they complement each other and they grow each other. They build each other up in order to evolve together, and sometimes one will evolve and the other one will stay right where they are. But that's the person you chose, and that's the person that you need to accept for who they are.
Well, I believe that people they stay the way they are because of method and not because they want to stay. Like I was watching an example with Malcolm X in the Malcolm X movie, and he's talking to Elijah Muhammad, and Elijah Muhammad said, if you feed the people this dirty glass, they'll drink it because they have no choice. But if you put that glass and this clean glass in front of them and let them choose, they'll choose the clear glass every time. And a lot of times people are forcing people to take the clear glass, even though it's good for them, and study putting the glass there with the dirty glass and say, okay, you choose one. It's the same results, was a different method. One of the things that I'm learning about unconditional love for people who they are, is not what they do, is that we're not going to get everybody to move the way we want to move it with the methods that we keep moving.
That's true.
That is the hardest thing that people don't want to get, is your methods of reaching somebody don't work. You don't love them unconditionally. You love them conditions of your methods and how you view it. And until your point is heard, I'm going to keep loving you this way. I'm going to keep approaching this way. And what happens to them, they become a movable object going against an unstoppable force. So now you have a stalemate of two strong people who will not understanding if God put it together, you guys can be away from each other for years. Eventually you're going to come together and it's going to be what God wants it to be, because God put it together. So when we think about another characteristic of unconditional love, persist through anything. Unconditional love is said to persist through any circumstances, mistakes, or betrayal. That's what unconditional love, that I am going to persist through anything. Now, for the viewing audience, let me just show, I'm not saying that you accept anything, but if you don't want somebody and they done you wrong or they cheated on you, that's fine. You don't have to be with them. That is not what I'm talking about. But if there is mistakes going on, or they may have said something to hurt your feelings, or you guys at a stalemate, unconditional love will persist through that. Not saying that you're going to continue to fight and be with that person. No, persistence in the fact that I am going to find or get help to rectify a situation instead of constantly fighting it. You want to comment on that?
Go and expound on that, because I'm trying to get what you're trying to say.
Because when we think about persist through anything, unconditional love is said to persist through any circumstances, mistake, or betrayal.
Yeah, you persevere.
But see, when we think about persist, there is a point in that when you look at that, and these are the things I'm listening to. I've listened to a couple of therapists and a couple of things to get these points, because the therapist I was listening to, a lady from Germany, she said that people don't know how to persist because the persist requires change from them. It requires change from the offense and the one that was offended.
Right.
But nobody wants to change, because if they change, then they can no longer be the victim, or their point won't be heard. Most people want a point and study moving from a point. So they can't persist through it, because the truth of the matter is, most people who said their relationships are horrible will not change what they do. That I'm not going to change my approach to you. You're not going to change your approach to me. And every time it's going to continue to be that bone until eventually God moves it. It stops, or people go their separate way because they don't persist in it. They don't persist in it. Also, a characteristic of unconditional love is they can maintain even if the relationship ends. Unconditional love can be maintained even if relationship does not survive. However, unconditional love can also be healthy if it exists without boundaries.
Mhm.
See, so now the point I want to talk about is the no strings attached, the love for who they are, the persist through anything, and the existence of the boundaries. See, that's when we look at unconditional love in our life. Where does these things come from? Earlier, boundaries. They come from experiences. Persist through anything. If I'm gonna love you unconditionally and you love me, now we have to find a way to coexist. Now we have to find a way to get better. Now we have to get inside help. If you don't want to do that, then I have the right to leave and move. But if this is something we decided to do, we're gonna stay in. Now I got to do it because the greatest challenge in any relationship and marriage is the bounce back. Not how much you love, not the financial gain, and not the emotional stability. It's the bounce back. Unconditional love means unconditional bounce back. Can you unconditionally bounce back? So when we think about the persist through everything, I've learned by listening to these people this week, and it helped me and changed my life. I was talking to my mentor about that, is that many things can be saved if I change me in it. Like
And that's true.
So what you think?
That's absolutely true. You can't change another person without changing yourself.
Well, it's good.
It is very good. You really can't, because if you're showing up as the same person, they're going to see the same person. There's a movie out called Fireproof, and there's a book that coordinates with that called The Love Dare. And basically it's a 40-day journey where the movie was hilarious, but the one spouse he was just fed up with his wife. She was fed up with him. They're on the brink of divorce. But the whole thing is the father gave the boy the book and said, listen, I'm gonna need you to follow these 40 days. And everything, you had to do different things every single day of this 40-day journey. But the first day was basically saying, dude, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Just hush, basically. And that then all of a sudden it was acts of service and so on and so forth throughout the time. But the point is I did this before with my first husband, because things weren't going well, and I said I'm going to try everything I possibly can. And because when it got to the day 20, you forget about the book, because you praising the Lord is just taking you to a whole nother direction. Because after a while, you're changing yourself. It's helping you as an individual more so than a couple, and you do see a change. He even said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "What you mean?" When the changes started to be made to make that person a better spouse, whomever takes this dare does become a better spouse. They really, really do.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it exposes everything with a big bright light like these lights here to say, wow, is this person for you? Because you and I both agree, what God has brought together, let no man put asunder. So if that is out there, you will see if this person is actually for you or not. And, unfortunately, he was a seasonal person that I made a permanent person. But anyway, we're still friends. We got kids together, love the man to death. And I do love him. He still loves me. And we'll forever be friends. You know what I mean? But it's like, he wasn't meant to be my spouse. That's a whole nother show for a whole nother day. But at the same token, I'm saying all this to say is you have to change, because that trying to say you're not doing this and you're not doing that and you could do better. And those are daggers and darts that you're throwing at that person. And now they're going to naturally become defensive. So nothing can be changed in a defensive situation. So you have to change yourself. When you change yourself, you better believe that other person is going to recognize it and be like, okay, then hello? They're going to acknowledge.
How you doing?
Hey, you doing? Who are you? What have you done with my spouse? Because it's like they, you got to see the movie, because the movie is hilarious, but the book is an excellent read. It's a devotional to it. It's a diary to it, the whole thing, and it's putting you on track to do specific things that cater to your spouse, but it'll eventually bless you, which was so dynamic in that. But yeah, you have to change yourself in order to change anything.
You know, my movie was Acrimony.
Oh boy.
Because
There we go.
that was such a, it had so many twists and turns. And I hope they do a number 2 because again, she stuck by him and he did her wrong. And then when he hit rock bottom, she left him. But then he ended up hitting it big. And then now she wanted him back, but she divorced him when he was bad.
He
so
didn't have anything.
right, it's so many twists in there because she had a right to divorce him, all the stuff she went through with him.
But she fell in love with his potential, not him. She did not recognize him and love him for the man that he was.
Yeah.
She recognized him for the man that he could be.
Well, no, you know what? When you look at the movie, she loved him. She just, because I don't think she would have did all that for that. She just sacrificed and loved him. But when she rammed her car into that thing, that would have been enough for me. Because listen, you know, when people show them, they show
their true colors.
tendencies are crazy. Because what her sister said, no, she ain't all right. You don't know her. And, you know, she was, you know, she left because now I want back what I lost. You know, I want back what I lost. And I'm, you know, it's like, because you could be away from a person for years. You can be away from a person. And if you guys love each other, you're going to love each other then. You're going to reconnect and love each other then. But when we talk about boundaries and experiences, I'm going to talk about a place, and you know, especially we talk about unconditional love. When we talk about unconditional love, do we underestimate the power of misery, especially when it comes to love and unconditional love?
Yeah, well, people like to be miserable. I remember, since we talk about movies, Hitch, when the guy fell in love with the girl and then she left him because she found out that Hitch was helping him out. And he said, I've never been this miserable. He said, if I will stay this miserable, if it keeps me connected to her. That was you know, quote unquote what he said. And that was the gist of it. People would rather be miserable just to hold on to the person that they love that has left their life.
And that's a great question. Can you love somebody so unconditionally that you would be content with being miserable?
I don't know what type of love that is.
No, hold on. People do it.
Like,
Let's talk about that.
Love?
Because
Yeah.
a lot of people underestimate the power of misery,
Right.
because they unconditional love. And some people hold, even though God don't put every covenant together.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Some people hold that covenant, but dear life, no matter if the person is not good to them, treat them like crap, doesn't provide, doesn't love, that's both male and female, not just one, you know, and they underestimate the power of misery, because love can keep you miserable. Love, you can unconditionally love somebody that doesn't make you happy, don't stimulate you mentally, don't please you physically, don't bless you financially. And most people don't understand, it's not what a person do for you that shows they love you, is what they're willing to sacrifice for you that shows they love you. It's a big difference in giving and sacrificing. But there is a formula for relationship misery.
Okay. Well, because see, there's a difference between you loving. First of all, the people that I love, in my opinion, that don't got nothing to do with them. You see what I mean? That really ain't none of their business. I love who I love. When you really love unconditionally, it doesn't have to be given back necessarily. You get what I mean? So if I love somebody and they don't love me back, that doesn't mean that's a formula for misery or a door for misery. I love a whole lot of people that probably can't stand me, and that's okay. If I choose to love, I'm gonna love you regardless of how you feel about me. Now, when you talk, because that's what you call it, unrequited love or something like that. When you pine for somebody and they don't love you back, you know, that can be miserable. You know, it's like, man, you know, I truly love this person. This person been using me all these years or whatever. And no matter how much I love them, they won't love me back. But when you truly love someone, is there an expectation that they're going to love you back?
Hey, D, thanks for joining. Go ahead. Well, here's the thing. Unconditional love, you can only receive unconditional love from the person that God has for you. You cannot have unconditional love from just anybody. But let me break down.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
No, I'm saying you can have unconditional love that is not romantic love.
Okay.
Let me just keep that. Let me just keep that. Romantic love. If you gonna love somebody romantically, unconditionally, they have to be the one that God has for you, because everything else comes with conditions. But let me understand the power of misery. People, so much when it comes to unconditional love, they negate the power of misery. They stay in place unconditionally loving somebody that keeps them miserable. And I'm gonna tell you why. People try to control others because they can't control themselves. Here is the formula, and I shared this on Facebook, videos and stuff on this. And when I was studying this, the formula for Facebook is people build walls because of their ex relationships. They build walls because of their ex relationships, and they close doors because of their current relationship that they chose because of their ex relationship. And what happens is they build walls because of what's happening, and they close doors because of what's happening. So what happens is many people get mad and isolate themselves because they don't trust anybody. And the truth be told, that the problems that they having with their current mate is not the problems with their current mate. The problems they having with their current mate is the problems they had with their ex-mate. So what happens is they build boundaries and walls according to somebody they ain't even in a relationship with, because they want to make sure this new person don't hurt them like the old person. So they have never started out the relationship with the new person. They started the new person off with the old person's boundaries, and the relationship became a prison, and nobody flourished. Whoa! Did I break it down? Did I break it down? Well, I'm telling you, I must study it. I'm done for this. Y'all want me to explain that again?
Well, I got it. You can.
Whoa, no, I got to. Go ahead. I want to make sure, because people don't get that. Because here is the thing that I'm going to tell you something. I have never in my life been in a new relationship. Never. No matter I got kids, no matter I've been married before, I have never been. Every boundary and every wall and every decision was always based on somebody before them. And what happened was I never seen what God had in front of me, because my boundaries and everything and my logics and some of my principles was based on somebody else's experience with me and not with the person in front of me.
Well, unfortunately, when you have kids and you're starting over, you can't help that, because your children are going to come first. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you just said kids. You mentioned that, but I'm just saying, it's like my ex-husband had absolutely nothing to do with my new husband at all. I didn't take any of that luggage in there with that. That was isolated. It was what it was. I walked into my new relationship with an open mind, open heart, and everything else. Any problems that have come up in my new marriage are predicated on he and my issues, you know. And you know, we're born the same day. Me and my husband, you know, we're born the same day. We're like-minded in a lot of ways. We're stubborn in a lot of ways. Exactly the same. It's almost like being with the same person sometimes. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
here it is. Therapist said your built boundaries are around the person you were in a relationship with, and they're built, and the rules are built because of the last person you're no longer in a relationship with. One of the things that people won't see, they can't see, is that, and that's why they always say, I'm afraid of being hurt, or I got certain boundaries and standards. I got certain this and that. I got all these, but they don't want to be honest about where they come from. They don't want to be honest that they come from your experiences. This is what psychologists said in Germany. They come from your experience.
Mhm.
That they do not come. You did not set. You just meet somebody. You just sit down and talk with them on the phone, maybe a few times. You go on a date with them. There was no rules or boundaries you set for that person because that person never did anything to you. You just met them. They're an introduction to your life.
Exactly.
So there is no conversation you're having with this person of you and your experience. That's why when somebody asks me, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Or what do you happen with this? I don't respond. That's like if somebody knew me in a light, because everybody is going, when people tell stories, they're always going to tell a story to make the other person look bad. They're not going to say they part in it, or they always tell a story. But if somebody will listen to that without going to the source, then when I look at that, it's like for me, you're setting a boundary by what somebody else told you, their experience with me, not being that they could have had bad feelings for some reason, or they could be lying. And a lot of times when we get involved with people that we don't go to directly, we have other information. And then what happens is we have already built a boundary or a rule or a set of thinking before we even got involved with the people. Most relationships were ended in the first 2 weeks of the relationship, even though they got married.
Mhm.
Even though they got married. Because that person subconsciously married the person who hurt them before. They didn't marry the person in front of them. Most people, when they get divorced, and this was a study, 5 years ago, there was a study that most people who've been married 20 years are strangers to each other because they never got a chance to know each other, because they never set boundaries around each other. They set boundaries on where they've been.
Mhm.
Ooh, that makes you think about that. Because when I read this, I was blown away. Like, wait a minute, I've never been in a relationship.
Yes, you have.
No.
And people are going to bring their experiences regardless. It's not, good, bad, or indifferent. Somebody could have had a beautiful relationship and then they had a spouse die. You know what I'm saying? Anything could have happened. You're going to bring your experiences in there. And it doesn't have to be a negative. It doesn't have to be. It's how it's navigated between that couple. It's how you choose to navigate those experiences. Because it doesn't have to be a negative situation. Yeah, you're gonna bring experience. If I go to a new job, they're basing my skill set on the experiences that I've had, on the experience from my previous job. They're looking at that to see how I can navigate in this particular job here.
No, we're talking about with them. It's different than
no,
job
but
skill.
no, it's not. Experience is experience.
Okay, because you know why? Here's the difference in that. My job is based on my results. My marriage and every other relationship is based on my results.
Exactly. So depending on what you went through in that relationship, if you want to have a different result, you're going to have to do something different to change it.
True, but I don't want to bring in what didn't work somewhere else into something else.
Yeah, not what didn't work, what did work.
But still,
things.
That's an oxymoron, because that worked with them don't mean they're gonna work with me. But see,
the common denominator is not you or the other person. It is me. If I'm dating you, I'm divorced, I'm dating you. I'm not going to bring the problems from my previous relationship, but the experiences that I had, the way I might have been quick-tongued. Maybe I'm checking myself. Maybe I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to do this because, I don't want to offend my new mate.
Well, that's something, but that has to be regulated before you got with that new mate. Because see, again, and that's why I said this. That's why I'm glad you take the other initiative on that, because that's what is killing the relationships. People aren't looking at the results. They're making emotional decisions on what it is they feel is right. But there is because again, they never ever get to know the person that's in front of them. They never ever get to know. Like, I don't know who I was in a relationship with and dated, because again, what is the most conversation talking about what I've been through? 9 times out of 10, when you go out with anybody today, their conversation is about what I've been through, what I'm going through, what I've seen in life, opposed to who you are. Like when I go into a job, I cannot go into a job talking about all the things I did on my old job. I can't even bring up that is one of the greatest ways where you will get terminated quick is because you're trying to make your new job your old job, or you trying to say, well, we did this at the last place. That employer don't want to hear that. I paid you to do what I asked you to do the way I want you to do it because I want your money. Many people get into a new relationship and say, well, this is just who I am. You know, a lot of people can't handle it. I'm a strong this, I'm a strong that, I'm a strong this, strong, but it didn't work in your last relationship. They worked in your last relationship before that, or before that, before that. But you don't want to change that. You want somebody to say, okay, accept that. Instead of saying, God, you done brought me into somewhere new. I need to change for this new in a betterment that I can progress in the new. Because what ain't gonna lie to you when your logic doesn't work is your results.
But your first point was to accept them for who they are.
True. That is true. I'm gonna accept you for who you are, but at the same time, you have to accept me for who I am. But I'm gonna accept you for who you are to get the best out of you for me. Not get the best out of you for them. Okay. I need this from you in order for us to be successful. You say, well, you know, I don't want to do that.
But
that
that's a condition.
No.
I'm going to need this from you. No, is that not a condition?
Condition is saying I need you to do it a certain way. Because it's unconditional. When what you need to do or get out of you, I can show you a better way to do it. One thing that I've learned is recently how many people watch me and listen to what I say. I was in a group of people, and I'm not saying this to make myself feel good.
Oh, boy.
But these people were saying my quotes, and they were speaking it religiously. They were speaking it. They were breaking it down. They were putting it in life to a point where I was almost in tears, and I was humbled. Because it was like, okay, these same people who people were talking to get them to listen, people, they wouldn't listen. Whereas I said a quote or said something that changed them, well, now they're open to listen. Like Michael Jordan. Phil Jackson said something to Michael Jordan. They said, well, why was Phil Jackson a great coach and Michael Jordan being as great as he was? Phil Jackson said, I knew not to overtalk Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, like one game, he was shooting a lot and wasn't passing the ball. And what did I tell Michael Jordan? I said, hey, did you shoot enough the last game? And he walked off. That right there, okay, Jordan. So what happened? Jordan come back and get 15 assists that next game. Because, okay, you said what needed to be said. The biggest problem that people are posing when it comes to unconditional love is that they don't want to change them. They don't want to change themselves, their methods, and what they do because they want to prove that they were right all along. That's why things go that way. That's why people can't love unconditional. Because you know why? My boundaries are built up because of my boundaries. I'm isolated. I don't trust nobody. And I'm going to keep approaching something the way I approach it. No matter what nobody say, no matter what my mate, my spouse, my family, my mom, no matter what nobody say, I believe this is the way it is. This is the way I'm going to see this person. I'm going to keep showing up that way. And what happens is when we do that, we're not unconditional, we're conditional. Then what happens is we tie God's hands because we've said to God, I'm only going to do it this way. God, I'm only going to do it this way. One of the things that Prophet Greta said to me, that God was going to do what he was going to do for me in a way that I couldn't imagine. He's doing that. Some things that's been falling and open, I never seen coming.
Right.
But because I was stuck on one way of getting it. And I kept showing up that way, and I kept praying that way, and I kept showing up that way until I became open to other ways. And it's like, okay, wow. I get it. Okay. So what you think?
So what I think about what?
I said a lot. I'm so prepared this show.
I know you hit a lot of points. You did. I just feel that yes, we all bring in those experiences to the relationship, but that doesn't always mean negative. I think when people bring luggage into the relationship and try to make somebody else pay for what another person did in their life is the wrong approach. They're like you say, they'll tie God's hands and not allow that person to open up to them freely. When you love somebody unconditionally, they can disappoint you, you still gonna love them. They can get on your nerves, you still gonna love them. You still extend grace. When you unconditionally love someone, you extend grace. You take a step back, you examine yourself even and say, hey, maybe it ain't all this person's fault. Maybe it's something I'm doing or saying or projecting that is, I'm getting that reaction from this person. That's what unconditional love does. It allows you to look at it from every single vantage point, not just your own. Unconditional love is something that you have to strive to want and engage in, because people are quick to get disappointed and walk off and leave. Forget it. It ain't gonna work. Deuces. I'm out. That's not unconditional love.
Well, when it comes to love, everybody's not to be loved unconditionally. When it comes to romantic, you can love unconditionally, but to be romantically unconditional love, that's one that comes from God. And that's because that person, we're going to get into that. Let's get into the variations of love, because we talk about unconditional love. There's so many variations of love. Mm-hmm. And like first one is philia. Am I saying that? Philia?
Philios love.
Yeah, that's affectionate love. Mm-hmm. Another one is storage, family, familial love, agape love.
That's God's love. There.
Selfless love, eros, sexual attraction love, ludus, young and playful love, mania, obsessive love. And let me say philatia, self-love, and pragma, enduring love. Now, when we look at those things, one of the things we look at is the category that we look in when we talk about loving somebody. We talk about the affection, the friendship, the eros, the charity. When we talk about the various love, and we love something, but we love something some ways. That's why you got mania. That's obsessive love. People are maniacs. They that could be,
and that might not be a positive love,
right? Okay? When you a maniac about what you're trying to do, that agape love, that's God's love, exactly. but we can have love like that, that's selfless love. Because one of the things that I was learning while I was studying this is that in God's eyesight, the greatest servant to him is the one that serves less than him.
Absolutely.
That is the greatest servant. Like a lot of times, we don't think we're great because we think everyone is taking advantage of us, and we think everybody's getting over, and people use, like I've had a crazy week this week. I've ran into two people that did me wrong, and I've seen them and I hugged them, and showed them that agape love. You know what you did. That's okay, because God blessed me with that. I've reconnected with somebody I haven't talked to in years. And, when I look at that, and can sit down and have a conversation. And so I look at that, I realized that was part of ministry, but selflessness. Because one point I thought being a person that's always thinking about everybody always benefiting from me, and everybody, like, because I felt like in my life, just been honest, that everybody gets a free ride when it comes to me. Some way or other, somebody gonna benefit from me, and I'm never gonna benefit from them. That's just the way I felt in life. My family, my friends, everybody, even churches, everywhere I went at, I'll just go out my way for everyone. And I always want to pick up the bill, always want to pick up something, always the one that's giving, always the one. And then I didn't realize that was part of my ministry of deliverance, but that was also God was saying that, okay, you a great person. You have a good heart. That's agape love. Where you can bless people who never bless you, never say anything. And a lot of people, when we think about that, let's be honest, everybody wants to be appreciated. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants somebody to show them some kind of affection for what they do. But what happens when they don't? And I realized that in my life, I have never gotten over on people. Either people get over on me and leave me alone, or they get blessed by me and leave me alone. But it's never me doing them. And so I got that. Now, I love to crack jokes, so I got that Ludus love. I love to crack jokes. I like to be playful. I got that Tia with self-love. I try to have pragma love, which is enduring love. You know, I have storage, you know, and, you know, affection love. So I try to have these loves. And, you know, when we look at unconditional love, but when I look at love, I look at it in the Euros, I look at it in affection, friendship, and charity. But agape is the highest love to offer. If given without any expectation, receiving anything in return.
That's right.
That is how we're supposed to love our spouses, our mates, our family. Because no matter who got over, I still blessed you. And have an honest sacrifice. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You got to stop me.
Why? You on a roll. Keep going. I agree with that. I mean, and if you don't have agape love for your spouse, that's horrible. You should have it. You said no, but I believe that you should.
No, I don't believe you shouldn't have for your spouse. I believe you're going to have it for every spouse. And I believe the one that God put together. And I'll go into that a little bit later on why I believe that, because the person God has for you is tailor-made. And a lot of times we get mad at covenants we chose. We get mad at things. Remember, if God says that the steps of a righteous man or woman is ordered to be by God, and he knew you for the foundation of the world, he knew your beginning from the end, that everything in your life has been calculated by God already, including your spouse. Remember, Adam was doing God's work on purpose. He wasn't even thinking about a mate. It was God that said that it's not good for man to be alone. It was God that said, I need to give him a helpmate. It was God that said that. So if God ordered my steps from my calling, from everything to the day I die, he knew the woman he had for me to marry. And when I look at it in that sense, there is no way in the world I'm going to mess it up. And he's not going to allow me to mess it up. He's not going to allow me to forfeit it and mess it up. Now, that woman receives unconditional love because she is for me. She is tailor-made for me. You know, just like he is tailor-made for her.
Right.
So when you look at that, you know, for your, you know, and we got to realize that everybody, because of our anointing, who God calls us, cannot give us unconditional love, because some people cannot be what they're not called to be, or they can't do what they're not skilled to do. And a lot of people get upset at people for being not what they want to be, when this is who they were all along. They didn't change, you changed. And you pick somebody that you didn't have an opportunity to grow in or evolve in. So when you're evolving, you're upset at a person for not evolving, but they've already evolved.
Right.
You know, you want that person to be a butterfly, that person a chicken. Just, you know, just a chicken.
A chicken.
You know, that person is that person is you know, gonna be a caterpillar.
You want them to be a
I'm sorry. That person gonna be a caterpillar. That's just the way it is.
I am done. Why you gotta be a chicken?
You know what I'm saying?
He got wings, but he's not a butterfly.
Right. But we get mad at the chicken for being a chicken because we want the chicken to be a butterfly. And that's where we get. That's why you ask yourself, how can you find unconditional love?
Is it to be found?
Yes.
All right. Well, tell me how to find it.
Okay.
Since you got the answer, let's hear that.
All right. First thing you have to do is to give yourself that love first.
I agree.
Finding unconditional love starts with caring about yourself first and practicing self-acceptance. It can be challenging to accept a deep love of another if you do not give yourself enough grace to love yourself. Most people are looking for somebody to love them beyond they love themselves.
Say that again. We need our bill now.
I believe that. I'm gonna let you explain what I mean by that. I believe you can.
Oh, I totally agree. Some people still live in the shame or the guilt of their past, as opposed to forgiving themselves, moving forward, and truly loving themselves. We get caught up in mistakes. We get caught up in certain things, especially latter day years. You know what I mean? And people don't love themselves like they should. Some folks overlove themselves, but sometimes I actually think that's a front too. But when you truly love yourself, because if God can forgive you, you should be able to forgive yourself and live in that love, not being arrogant and not, but being basking in the love that God has for you, which means you love yourself because he loved you enough. You get what I mean? That's the only, and I agree with that. That's the only way to love somebody else. If you don't love you, how you gonna love me? That don't make no sense to me.
And additionally, if you don't love yourself, you will be more likely to accept toxic love in your life.
That's right.
Because you don't recognize what you truly deserve. When you know who you are and what you need, what your needs are, you develop a sense of self-worth. Healthy, unconditional love is more likely to find you. Once you understand this, you'll be better to discern between healthy and unhealthy love and accept unconditional love when it arrives instead of searching for it. One of the things that people don't want to be honest is that every past relationship has damaging effects on people.
That's true.
And a dear friend of mine who's very, very beautiful lady, said to me that she never seen herself beautiful. No matter how many men said she was drop dead gorgeous, she never seen herself beautiful until a woman said she was beautiful. Not because the woman was funny or anything, but the woman said that you are a very beautiful lady. Because every man that said she was beautiful felt that they wanted something from her, or can gain, what they wanted. But she said, you are really an extraordinary, beautiful woman. But she didn't accept it from there. There are so many attractive, beautiful women and even men who are handsome, who have been decimated by bad relationships, bad comments, and not been able to be made to feel beautiful. What amazes me, some of the women I run into, when I give them a compliment, they're more shocked than me. Like, I'm beautiful, yes. Very beautiful.
Oh my Lord.
You're gorgeous. Why don't you see that? But because we don't look at the effects of what happens. Like, one of the things that I'm learning is patience in love. I'm trying to learn patience in love because right now I don't have patience for love in certain things. I just don't have it because
pray for that.
No, you know why? Because anything counterproductive, my system and my life and the surroundings reject. And foolishness is counterproductive. Fighting relationships or fighting people is counterproductive. My system rejects it. That when people say, like, one person say to me, you quick to just dismiss somebody. I am. And I'm gonna tell you why.
What happened to make room for God?
No, I do. But no, it's like, no, if I'm in it, I'm in it. So be it. Ain't no bounce back in the beginning. We just started. We just sat on the table. If you go act crazy in the beginning, all right. It was nice knowing you, but see you.
I'll tolerate a little crazy later, but I'm not gonna tolerate it.
Right. If you come out of the bag later, then we can deal with it. But if you just like, you gonna show me, I believe when they say somebody show you here, believe it. If you hear little people talking to you in your head and you do a flip, I believe it. You ain't gotta prove nothing to me. Listen, if you hear the voice and say, they talking to me, I believe it. Listen, go home and have your conversation with them.
I'm done.
I don't want to listen.
I am so sorry, but that is hilarious.
I'm telling you.
I am crying laughing.
Listen, I'm at a point in life, I am not going to argue your crazy. I'm just like that. Let me say it like that. But I am not gonna argue you crazy.
Oh my God.
This year of preparation, this year of self-correcting, this year of things that God showed me that I ain't arguing nobody's life. You believe that you keep see purple everywhere you go?
I am done.
So be it. I'm not.
I can't do you today.
No, I'm just being truthful.
Oh my God. I'm
not, you know what I'm saying? So, but a lot of that has to do with how I love myself.
Right.
How I see myself. I show myself unconditional love because
and that's evolution, right?
Right.
Maybe 5-6 years ago, that might not have been true.
That might not have been true. But again, just like it says in here, practicing unconditional love. Practice how to love without wanting anything in return. Each day, do something for somebody with no strings attached. It can be telling someone you love them without waiting for them to respond back, or someone in the traffic jam, just tell them I love you and wave to them. This simple act is not only gives you pleasure, but it helps you how to love conditionally. One of the things that I'm learning in finding unconditional love, period, is to be a blessing to somebody who cannot bless me back. See, it's different when somebody that can bless you back.
Right.
But it's different when somebody can't pay. Hey, listen, let me give you this. Let me help you out. I heard you going through a rough time. I heard you going through something. Let me just send you something. But then you have some people can be rude with that. Like, oh man, hey man, don't never call you unless they need you.
Right.
Stuff like that. Now that I don't have much respect for, because it's like, if you really care about me, check on me before you need me.
Right.
Then it won't feel bad me giving you something. But to bless somebody, to bless them, without nothing or anything. Another one is to learn. Here's one of the greatest ones. Learn how to express your love. Love unconditionally is not just how you feel, but how you act. Pay attention to how you express your love to others. If you feel like the others owes you something, then you are not loving them unconditionally. That is the thing that I had to really work on when it comes to loving unconditionally, because if I got to express how tired I am of helping you, or I haven't expressed how tired it is, or the sacrifice it took for me to bless you, then I didn't do it unconditionally, and I've taken away blessings. But when it comes to unconditional love, we don't want to bottom line stuff. We don't want to direct the bottom line stuff. When it comes to unconditional love, one of the things of unconditional love is learn how to express it, to tell the truth. You treat me this way, and I need for you to do this so we can be better. If not, leave me alone. Simple.
And you have to love people in the way they can accept the love, and I know that I read a book years ago, and it's a great read, the 5 love languages. Sometimes, everybody ain't raised in the same household. Some parents were really lovey-dovey, other parents were very strict and standoffish or whatever. So certain people, need physical touch more than the other. Some people need to spend more quality time more than the other, or receiving of gifts and acts of service and words of affirmation. And words of affirmation is a big thing. There's actually a test that you can take online to see, which order is your love language. A lot of people, if you don't ever buy me a gift, that's fine. But, I know my love languages. It's quality time and physical touch. I like hugs. I like holding hands. I like things of that nature. And if I'm with you and you got a 10-foot pole between us, that to me doesn't express love. Whereas someone else might be like, hey, you look great today. I like words of affirmation. You look great. You smell nice. Look at you, blah, 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 whatever. I appreciate all that you do. You have to be able to know how to love the other, because I think that's what's missing a lot of times too in relationships. If you buy me roses every day, but that's not my love language, gifts, receiving of gifts, you're missing a huge opportunity to love me.
I kind of disagree with that. And I'm gonna tell you why I disagree with the love language.
No.
Love languages has a origin outside of you two, because you don't learn your love language till you with somebody. And sometimes people want to feel how somebody else treated them a love language. There are certain things that they're like being intimate with my being intimate with my new wife is not gonna be the same as being intimate with my old wife, and so I cannot expect from her what I expected from my previous. When people say love languages, this is where I disagree on that, because language has an origin of somewhere else. When we talk about a love language, I believe everyone has a love language that they speak to somebody they're with. It's not a universal love language. I don't believe that. That's where people say, this is my love language. No, this is my love language with you. Now, if I'm with somebody else, I have another love language, meaning I have another way of dealing, living, or coexisting with you. So when I say love language, because see, most people come preconceived or preloaded up, and that's why they're damaged. Because when we talk about unconditional love, there is no expectations. I don't need you to do what I need you to do for me for something that I've had previous to you. I need
It has
you.
nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with the individual.
Well, no, but that's the point, because individuality leaves when we become married. Individuality becomes we become one. And that's the point. And I'm glad you said that, because that's my next point about it, the individuality has killed unconditional love. One of the greatest bullets to unconditional love is individuality. People who are married still want to live single. They want to have their own this, their own that.
Singleness and individuality are two different things.
Well, when it comes to the benefit of the relationship, because the thing is that two things we have to look at. Is it going to change my result? Is God on my side for what I'm doing? That is the thing when we look at what we do, because a lot of times we prove good points, but we leave God out of it. And our points to prove may be legitimate points, but the way we go about it, we tap God's hand. Because it makes no difference when you're in the position, when you're by yourself. I can make a point. But then when I go back into a place of misery, I'm like, okay, God, why is this? And God's like, well, okay, you tie my hands because you want to do it this way. You want to see it that way. My thing is that when God makes all things new, and I've been in a new relationship, everything must start from that relationship, because I don't want residual, or I don't want to give a person a ultimatum, or give that person a standard to keep up that they can't keep up to, or they never created. To me, love language, and I and this is not something I'm just saying of opinion, because individuality, when I was reading this yesterday, individuality is the greatest tool to destroy marriages, is because people are afraid of losing themselves in someone else instead of growing in someone else. Like, now, what self are they afraid of losing? Is it the new self that God is creating and taking? When we think about two people that's on purpose, on kingdom building purpose for one reason and what God wants to do, or is it the person that they feel good? Because one of the biggest tricks to me that I had to look at, for me, is I've accomplished more single than I have ever been in a relationship. Do I really want to be in a relationship? Not understanding that the accomplishments was to build me so that I could be in a relationship, or put myself in a position where I can be as one in a relationship, because the Bible said you are as one. But society says you have to be as two. Individuals, you have to be as two. That means that I got mine, you got yours, and we just come together for certain things instead of us working together in everything. So when people say love languages, I don't agree.
Did you read the book?
No, I didn't read the book on love language.
Then you can't speak on it if you didn't read the book.
You don't. You know why?
Because the book is, you're looking at it from a perspective, and that you'd have to read the book in order to understand the conversation.
No, well, everybody, you got to remember this. Everybody has their opinion about what they feel is. I'm biblical. I try to stay biblical about what I'm saying.
And this is a biblical based book.
But when I look at love language, most of the love languages that if I'm already speaking a language and you don't speak that language, then I have to be able to either learn your language, you have to learn my language in order for us to communicate.
Exactly.
You know, but when I look at the best form of communication, you know, because I don't believe that love language
So
is.
you're basically saying the exact same thing.
No, I don't believe that you have a love language and somebody has to learn it. I believe that your love language is created with a person. So when you with a new person, you create a new love language because you're loving that person opposed to loving. Because if you you have a love language on how you like to be loved, that was created through experiences with someone else.
No.
Now with the new person.
No. See, you read the book. And then
I ain't read no book.
We
No.
can talk about it later. Read the book because that's not what it is, though. You're distorting what the 5 love languages are. So
no, I'm just you have an opinion on it, but you know my opinion on it is
because I read the book.
No, I haven't read the book, but my opinion is not based on it. But my opinion is based. I'm taking my opinions off of statistics and therapy. That's your opinion on the book. Mine is different because this is where when I wrote this about love language and individuality, I wanted to make sure I bring this point because here's the thing: when it's all said and done, your results don't lie. When we say what we're doing and when we make our points and we make our stand on what we believe, is it getting us the results that we want? Is it getting us closer to God? Is it getting us the things we want? Some people have deprived themselves of what God has for them because they made the points they need to make, opposed to what it is. It don't change you and it don't make you better or give you a place to evolve or even make you happier, but you've made the point. That's how I look at it. Because when I was looking at unconditional love, I wanted to ask the question, how can I get unconditional love from somebody? A tailor-made person God has for you will give you unconditional love, but that unconditional love will be ordained by God to love you the way God intended for you to be loved and the way he needs that person to love you for purpose. Because God tailor-made them for you, he made you tailor-made for them. So a lot of times we want unconditional love from people. There is no love language. What she said, there is no love language. What God put together already knows about the two, but he put together. That's the worldly thing, love language. I agree 200%, Susan. I agree. That's what me and Gigi disagree. But when we think about the person we have tailor-made, we want people to love us unconditionally that cannot. They cannot love us unconditionally, and we chose them unconditional. They can't meet our conditions. But I believe when we think about unconditional love, we must change how we approach it. And we must change the way we accept it by what we practice. Because I believe that everyone is not going to come already made.
That's true.
Sometimes it takes work. Go ahead.
No, that's true. I believe we, agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
But you still believe in love language.
I absolutely do. And I can appreciate you and Susan's approach on that because I read a book by Miles Monroe. It's called Single, Married, Separated, and Life After Divorce. He talks about singleness in this and people being whole before they become married and be with someone. And a lot of people talk about, in this book, he basically says, if God brought you together with someone, he is responsible for it if it doesn't work. So how does that work?
Well, that's true. But
because he gave us free will. We have free will to do what we want, good, bad, or indifferent.
That's a very easy question to answer.
Well, please.
Because the thing is that what God brings together, he bears witness. People do not wait until God bear witness. One of the things that God does is when he brings something, you see power, you see difference in it. You see, one of the things that I've learned is that I've lied on God many times, saying that God bought somebody that he didn't. But I didn't see the things that God did. Sometimes you can serve him even if you are one, but you don't need two to walking together. There's nothing wrong with two walking together for his purpose. Right. One of the things that we must hear is being able to hear from God what God says, and we also must be able to know that it is God, that he's bears witness. You see the power in that, because God will let you know what is for you, and God will never give you something that contradicts his word. A lot of times we want things and he'll show us what's the right thing. One of the things that I'm learning this season is patience. Because, you may want to be in a certain place and you may want to be with somebody because you may be, but at the same time, what God has for you is so powerful, because there are souls and people that's connected to your deliverance.
That's right.
There are things that will break generational church things. Huh? Oh, okay. Don't stop. You look crazy stuff. So one of the things that we don't want to wait on God, we want to hear from God. And a lot of times our mind is so clouded that we want something so bad. So we say God said, because our credibility is shot. So we say God said this and God said that. But when it's from God, it works. And when it's from God, God will show you, because God doesn't have to try to do anything.
Right.
That's the point. Because if you can explain it, God didn't do it. That's what a lady at church said. If you can explain it, God didn't do it. And many people are trying to explain why God is going to do this and why God has me and why God, no, he doesn't. That is your flesh trying to get God to co-sign for what you want, right, which make yourself your own God. But God has a timing. He has instructions, and the Holy Spirit is in you to bear all truth that it is from God. Right. So a lot of us got into situations and said, well, God said this. No, he didn't. Miss me with that. He didn't do that. So when I look at what God put together, it works. Let no man put under. And when he mean, watch this, what he mean by no man, he mean you yourself.
That's right.
You can't even stop it. You can't even stop it. But that's because you heard from God. That's really so that's an easy question.
That, but anyway, go ahead.
So when we think about unconditional love, my question to you is, do you really honestly know what unconditional love is? Have you ever experienced it outside of God? Have you ever experienced unconditional love from from anybody in your family? And what does that look like?
I believe that my parents and my children love me unconditionally.
What about relationship?
Oh, and in a marriage, I mean, that has been said. It's been said.
I ain't gonna touch that.
No, just saying it's been said. So it's like you'd have to believe what's been said. We still holding on. So there you go. You know what I mean? It's like, people say it and then they stick things out. I mean, in a relationship, there are going to be ebbs and flows, ups and downs, disappointments, and victories and triumphs. There's a lot of it that goes on. And through all of that, you say, I'm going to love this person through thick, thin, through everything.
I felt unconditional love for my kids.
As you do.
But I mean, my mom, unconditional love I felt for myself. Because I'm realizing, as we was talking about earlier, that I have to give love. I have to first give love first to myself. When we think about unconditional love, we have to think about it in an aspect of why we are conditioned to love conditionally.
Mhm.
We all know sin is in the world. We all know that we have a lot of people who are trying to get over, not understanding that all they're doing is hurting themselves. Unconditional love it is targeted mainly by people who are afraid of losing themselves and losing what they've accomplished to a union.
Mhm.
That is one of the good. When I talked about that, therapist said unconditional love will always be under attack by people who don't want to give up the person they are to be the person they need to be in a union.
Mhm.
Therapists in Germany said that, female therapists,
Mhm.
that people believe that you could be in a marriage or relationship and don't have to change. That is unconditional love is going out like, you love me unconditionally, let me keep doing what I'm doing that's detrimental to us. Most people, when they think about unconditional love, and we say, well, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, you know, we look at the fact that God never said why he loved the world.
Mhm.
Because anything he would have said on why, it would be conditioned. And he loved us with agape love, a selfless love, unconditional. And many times when people say to me, well, you say you don't have expectations in a relationship, I don't. Because I can't expect you to do something that failed me prior. I cannot put you in a position where you cannot be the best you for you and for me,
Mhm.
and me be the best me for me and best me for you, that we grow.
Mhm.
Most people don't grow in a relationship is because they are set in making it the way they've been, opposed to the way God is changing them. When you're a new creature and God says he throws your seed in a sea of unforgiveness, you know, we understand that he doesn't see us the way we see ourselves anymore. He sees us and sees his son.
Mhm.
But we forgive people, or we approach people and we see what we've been through opposed to seeing them. When I read that most people have been married for 20 years and still don't know each other because they never was in marriage with that person. They was always married to their experiences, and they created rules, boundaries, and walls according to what they did. If I am going to love you unconditionally, I need to know you for who you are now. I don't worry about what you've been through. I don't worry about people saying you were prior to meeting me. I don't care what you failed with somebody else prior to me. It's me and you right now.
Mhm.
We need to eat. What are you and me going to do to eat? What are we going to do?
Right.
I can't help it that you starved previously.
I'm done. Okay.
And that's why when somebody asks me, what would you do? If somebody walked up to me and said, well, somebody told me this about you,
Mhm.
and they were a potential mate,
Mhm.
you know what I would say? I argue now. I'm not debating that. I'm not defending myself in any manner
Mhm.
because not because I'm stopping lies. No, if you're worried about what I've been through or what I've done prior to you, then you're definitely not who God sent me, because God forgave me. And man can't hold you responsible for what God forgave you for. That's what people, they hurt their relationship, their life, and their growth because they want to hold you accountable and make you explain what God has already forgiven you for.
Mhm.
Oh, I used to be an alcoholic. Okay, well, why did you start drinking in the first place? That don't matter. God delivered me from alcohol. Now you want to deal with this sober me now, or you want to find fault in me being an alcoholic that God, because everything I've been through get God's glory.
Mhm.
I'm not telling you about what I've been through for me to get self accommodations or accolades. No, 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 no. God delivered me.
Right.
Unconditional love is to do something for somebody and to love somebody without
Condition and expectation.
and boundaries that
Mhm.
somebody else set.
Mhm.
I'll say that I said earlier today, people don't understand the power of misery. They stay in love, fucking unconditional love, being miserable. They try to control everything. What do? They build walls because of past relationships. They close doors because of the current relationship. They build walls of what happened to them, and then they close doors because of what's happening to them. They isolate themselves. Because why? They don't trust anybody.
Mhm.
And they're not having problems with the new person. They're having problems with the old person through the new person. And they set bounds and rules and boundaries according to what somebody did to them they're no longer in a relationship with. So when they meet somebody, you're not meeting that person under you and them. You meet that person under the standard they set from the hurt and experiences they received. So when you tell me that you can love me unconditionally, are you going to love me unconditionally according to God loved me, or are you going to love me unconditionally according to your experiences? Either way, only one way I can be loved. And I can love the way God loves me, or love me unconditionally. What happened to me, happened to me. But I'm not going to hold you responsible for that.
Mhm.
And until we get to know the new, we'll never love unconditionally. We love on the status of people who did what they did to us. And that's why people don't have unconditional love. My unconditional love partner is out there. God created her for me, and God is going to bring her to me.
Mhm.
And she's going to love me unconditionally because she's ordained to love me unconditionally. Not according to world standards, but because of what God revealed to her. He bear witness to that. And I'll do the same. But other than that, I can't force somebody to love me unconditionally, especially when I have conditions for them. They have conditions for me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Why you sorry?
Ooh,
You
powerful.
I'm powerful. You hear him?
Ooh, I told you I was prepared for this show.
I love it. I love it. Okay. I got a topic we're gonna talk offline about. But anyway, unconditional love, man, I'm trying to tell y'all it's not easy for humans because agape love is God love, and we are not God. So we have to make sure we continue to check ourselves. It's a self check consistently to love somebody unconditionally. No one is perfect. God is perfect, which is why he has perfect love. But loving someone unconditionally takes skill, and it takes a wanting to love in that fashion, an unselfish love. And I believe human beings are just naturally selfish. Quite frankly, I think we are. We always have our own interests, our own wants and needs, and to put that aside, to put someone else's wants and needs ahead of our own is not an easy thing to do. However, there is a
I do it
blessing.
on a regular basis.
However, there is a blessing in it. There really is a blessing in it. Um, I just saw a preacher say the other day, he was like, a plum tree don't eat the plums. He said, because it is not for the tree, it's for everyone else. So your gifts are not for you. Your gifts are for everyone else. You have to realize that as well. So I definitely agree with that. A lot of times as givers, we give, and want to know, well, when is it our time to receive? But sometimes we have to say, maybe God just put us on this earth to be that giver. Maybe God put us on the earth to unconditionally love other people, whether we get that reciprocated or not. We may never get that reciprocity, never, but that's okay. God, if God has given you the gift of love and given you the gift of care and compassion for his people, then you continue to do that. When you're in a relationship and you're looking for a life partner, you just have to be patient, take it slow, and make sure that you, like you say, make room for God to bring that person into your life. Because even when we talk about Adam and Eve, a lot of people say, God gave Eve to Adam. No, God presented Eve to Adam. Adam chose Eve. Reread the book. I didn't write it. It's written though. He presented her, even though he built her out of the rib.
What he did say, God did say, choose a mate. What was that?
God said that man should not be alone. You don't have to be married to not be alone. Period.
Yeah.
God presented Eve. Adam chose Eve. Reread the book. I didn't make it up. I'm sorry.
Well,
I know you don't agree with it,
that-
but when you read it, that's how it is written. I think we have read that over and over and over, and to say, oh, that's just how it is. This is marriage. This is how it's put up. No, Adam
God-
still had to choose Eve. Period.
No, when I look, okay, God had told Adam prior to that to choose a mate from what was there that he didn't
No,
find.
he didn't. He just told him to name the animals. He didn't say choose from it. Adam came to himself to say, "Ooh, I don't have a mate."
Okay, but still, God had to do that. But the first of Damon was marriage, and I don't believe that God desired. He said it's not good for man to be alone, and he gave him a helpmate. And I just think that when people say that, I think that God wants them to be alone. I don't agree with that, because that, to me, that contradicts his word. He said, "You be fruitful and multiply." He said, "I give them dominion." He didn't say, "I give her dominion." I give him dominion. I give them dominion. What it is we don't want to change to receive what God has for us. And I think a lot of when people say that, that's just a cop out for them being stuck in a place where they want to be alone, or say, God, it's okay to be alone, and that God is the one that gets married.
So God said it's not okay to be alone.
Right. I believe that. I mean, we're never alone because God's with us, but I just believe that people have chosen the individuality. Some people have chose to be to go against God's word, as far as that, because when there is the family structure and the power of family and the power of togetherness and the power of marriage and the fruitful and multiply and the favor, those are all things God promised that you get in marriage, opposed to being alone. But I believe, and it's just my opinion, that the devil doesn't want you to be in covering the marriage, because it's easier to attack you by yourself than being under the headship or the covering of a husband, or being in covenant with a husband, opposed to doing that. Because most people think that God isolates them, and God doesn't. He prepares them, but he doesn't isolate, nor did he say that. So I agree, but I also, God, that when he created Eve for that, because I just think, this is my opinion, that most people turn scriptures into point makings. And that's how I look at it. I think a lot of people use scripture in the context of making a point and study what it should be. And many people say that to give themselves a base to say, well, this is why I'm who I am, or this is the way I am. And I just think that's malarkey to me, because I just think people refuse to change, and they're gonna make God's word what it is. That's just my opinion.
I know you've said it before.
Because God put him to sleep, and he said, "Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh." God gave him his wife, and of course Adam gonna choose what God gave for him. I just think that's just a factor, is that saying if God gave me something and I chose it, God wanted me to choose that. That's why he put it in front of me. I don't think he would have put Eve in front of Adam. He didn't want him to choose it, and that he believed that Adam needed her, that he would have choose it. So I don't think Adam had a choice in choosing Eve. That this is what God wanted him to do, because Adam didn't disobey God until the tree of life, to the fruit. That's when he disobeyed God. So, I don't think Adam had an opinion on choosing Eve then, because Adam didn't know didn't know the difference between right and wrong. He didn't know life and death at that time. But it was when the fruit, that's when he knew he was naked. That's when he knew what happened. So I just think that's just my opinion. That's just people reaching. That's just people reaching to make point. That's the part we need to do a show on, because that is one of my pet peeves that burn my noodles, is that people use the word of God in the contents of
Mhm.
arguments, and they see no like. Why would you
Why
use?
it gotta be an argument?
No, I'm not talking about saying I've seen people like that. Like I've seen people say, "Well, God said this, and you ain't
My
doing it."
Lord.
If you use God's word to prove a point, woe is unto you, because you have used something so powerful so weakly that you think about that.
Mhm.
Like the power of God is so powerful in transforming that demons got to obey the word of God, and people use it so frequently. I watched a couple on my mama block
Mhm.
argue with each other with the word of God.
Uh-uh.
The Bible also said this. The Bible also said that. The Bible also said this. The Bible also said that. Like God is being glorified and you being ignorant with his word. Or God being glorified, you using his word to hurt somebody or to shoot a shot. God ain't being glorified with that. Matter of fact, God holding you responsible for that. For how you use his word. It was in Revelations. And the first chapter where he talked about you will be held responsible for the way you use his word. And it just don't mean blasphemy the Holy Spirit. You use his word in a content that it was never been in content for. It's blasphemy. But people do it. They don't make a point to save, they make a point to hurt. And I have a beef. That's my Achilles heel. I want to go in on that. But you know what I mean? That is it. So
And so who loves you unconditionally over there?
well, you know what? I believe that I am loved unconditionally. I believe that the person that God has for me to love me unconditionally. I believe that unconditional love, we can love. We can love. We can have the mind like Christ to love one another unconditionally. We can love our enemies. We can love those that spitefully and wrongly use us. We can do these things. I think that once we love the way God loves us, or we love unconditionally, that's when we'll see the grace of God manifested. I believe that's when we'll be released from everything, because unforgiveness is the reason why we can't love unconditionally.
Mhm.
You know, we can't let go of stuff. We can't go back and forth with stuff. But I believe when we think about unconditional love, we must correct our conditions in order for us to love unconditionally.
Mhm.
So what you think? What you think about the show? Was it deep?
I loved it. I loved all your points. Give credit to the folks that you use their stuff from, the psychologist. Who was
Well, I've watched. I've been, I don't want to, I have a few therapists, and I've been talking to my mentor, Deacon Mitchell, and other therapists, and my therapist about unconditional love. And I've watched videos that was sent to me, and that was one of the videos. I forgot her name, and I'm going to try to say her name because I can pronounce her name.
Because she's from Germany.
Germany, I can't pronounce her name, but she made a good point about unconditional love, that we have not learned to uncondition ourselves to love conditions because of our experiences. When we let go of the past completely and we get out of our emotions, we make decisions that are unconditional. One of the things of one of the greatest points of unconditional love is radical acceptance. That is a point I've hit on. That's a point my therapist talks about, is that things happen the way they happen, that God anticipated the mess up before it messed up. And so when we look at unconditional love, okay, it's not to expect no more from somebody, but unconditional love is to start sometimes from ground zero. We don't get the chance to start from ground zero because we get people in situations. And it's like, I want you to come into my situation, make my situation better, or I come into your situation and make your situation better, and opposed to start in our own situation. I believe, and she said something, and I'll give my final thoughts first now, since I'm talking. She said something that made a lot of sense to me. She said, until you can start a relationship at ground zero with somebody, you'll never love unconditionally or ever see unconditional love in that relationship. And what she means by ground zero is to disassociate every part of your past and every lesson you've learned that is going to carry residual from past experiences, past hurt, pain, or even things that was accomplishing. She also said throw out the condemnation, and she said it just like that. Condemnation, I'm sorry, of love languages, of what my preferences are, every expectation of what I like with somebody else, so that I can be truly open-minded to somebody and to love them unconditionally, but give them a fair chance at my heart, my life, my future, and where I'm going and what I'm called to do in God, without them having to live under rules, speculations, or things that I've experienced with someone else. That many walls and boundaries and things are created because of my experiences with someone else, not my experience in front of me. Because I have no experiences with somebody in front of me, because I'm just meeting them. So what happens is they come into a sentence that they never created. They never did anything to be under. So they come into conditions. So I can't love them unconditionally because I'm still living under conditions of what happened to me. So I'm putting them under conditions. And what happens is they didn't fail in a relationship with me. They failed not meeting my conditions because of my experiences. So what happens is I go a long time with somebody who I'm in love with, they're in love with me, and we're trying to make it work on conditions and experiences from past that neither one of us have done. And so that's why most conversations are, what would you do here? What would you do here? What would you do here? What would you do this? What happens if this happens? You know why? Because I am not asking you questions on who you are. I'm asking you questions on who I've been, or what I've been with, or what I've experienced. And I've never given somebody a ground zero, nor have I never been in a relationship with somebody ground zero. I've always come into their problems or their situations or things that happen. I've never, ever had a conversation with a woman where it was just me and her talking about me and her. It was just me and her talking about me and her in the future, or me and her talking about what we're going to do together. It has always been what I've been through. And until we learn how to disassociate ourselves from those experiences, what we're going to do is to continue to live conditionally, looking for unconditional love. That's my thoughts.
Well, my perspective comes from already being in a relationship, a marriage, and it is not easy. It's not easy to, turn the other cheek, if you will, when you run into hardships and things of that nature. However, if you love someone, you love them regardless, and that is unconditional love. You no matter how if you harm me, hurt my feelings, step on my feelings or whatever, I'm still gonna love you, because when you love someone, you love them from the heart. I don't believe that people should. I think the term love is used so loosely that it loses its meaning. It loses it. So when someone says, "Hey, I love you, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you," whether that other person means it or not, if you meant it, you're going to do everything that you possibly can to show it each and every day, whether your spouse accepts it or not, whether your spouse recognizes it or not, whether they acknowledge it or not. Because when you stand before Christ, you have to be able to say, "Lord, I did everything that I was supposed to do on my end." And that's that. You just have to love from your heart. And if you have a heart filled with love, you're going to do that regardless, no matter what. Now, I'm not telling anybody to, be in a abusive relationship or anything like that. And that's not what I'm saying. But I will say marriage has its share of ebbs and flows. It has its share of ups and downs. It's always easy to love when everything is loving and lovable. Everybody's working, the money is flowing, everybody eating good, there's no snags, there's no issues, there's no problems, everybody loving everybody and all of that. But when a problem surfaces and now you have to exercise your love, that's when you can tell the tape. At that point, it's going to show. And you have to be able to say, "Hey, I'm going to love you through this rough patch. I'm going to love you." And that is unconditional love to me. Not picking and choosing when to love, and not picking and choosing when you're going to do what you're supposed to do as a spouse. You do it regardless of whatever's going on in that house. That's unconditional love to me.
That sounds good. Now, next week we're gonna talk about the election next week.
Oh boy.
This week we're gonna talk. This week we will have a new president.
I know, right?
Will we have a woman president? Will we have Trump back again? We're gonna talk about that.
Harris or Trump?
We're gonna talk about what it means for us. We're gonna talk about we'll talk about election results. We're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about these things.
You know, the temperature of the nation, because
we're gonna talk about that.
Between Tuesday and Saturday,
right?
There could be a lot going on. Preferably we will be here. You don't never know. These people might act a fool.
Right. So we don't know what's gonna happen. So we will definitely be here next week to talk about the election. But listen, people, when we think about love, we must understand that love is a gift from God, and we must never take it for granted.
That's true.
Never take it for granted. And I believe that unconditional love can exist in a relationship.
Absolutely.
But you got to get to a point where you leave the world out and just be in with that person.
You too, exactly.
Just you too, because I've seen in a movie where they put these guys in a chamber and they put them in the ground. I forgot that it was. And they made them face each other, and they had to tell each other the secrets and everything that goes on, and they had to talk to each other. And so we must remember that. But next week we're definitely going to be talking about presidential. Well, I thank Gigi for amazing show.
You the one with all the points.
Well, I was ready because it means so much to me to talk about unconditional love, because for so long I've wanted love, but then I realized that everyone can't love me. Everybody's not ordained to love me.
That's true.
And everybody can't give me unconditional love, and I can't require something from somebody that's not ordained to give it to me. And that's one of the things we do. Plus, God don't put everything together. So I can't get mad at what I don't have when I chose what God don't have for me. So I'm excited about that. A lot of people listening from my job, and a lot of people listening. And I pray I said something good. Please like, love, and share. So I am so excited about being here. Is there somebody want to say hello?
Yeah, Corey's gonna get married in 2028, just so y'all know.
Yeah, okay.
We're putting that out there.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be married before then.
2028. No, you need time. Be patient.
Nah.
Patience, my dear. Patience.
No.
2028. That's when his wedding gonna be.
I'm gonna get married when God says it's time for me to get married.
2028. I already know.
Because,
you look like it's a long time from now.
I'm not waiting no 3 years to get married. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Hey, okay.
Because it's not, because I don't believe that God has all he has for me and what he's shown me and what's been prophesied for me to be alone and doing it by myself. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Who says you're gonna be alone all that time? You're just not gonna get your wedding date is not gonna be until the 2028. That's all.
Survey says
she's gonna plan a huge wedding. Huge.
Nah.
Humongous wedding.
We'll need all that, especially if people wasn't there when we.
She ain't gonna plan a big
definitely don't
wedding.
Need all that, baby. Bye. Not me. I don't want all that. Not gonna happen. So y'all listen. My co-host talking crazy. I have
no idea what you got going on.
And yeah, you don't.
He might be married right now. Who knows?
You lucky I got my buzzer. I fuck you right now. So listen, people, we'll see you next week. Love you guys. You have a good one. It was the